Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show where I talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Undone Season 2, Episode 4. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. First and foremost, when we got that opening and it's like, we see the old lady and I was like, oh, Rosario? I was like, oh, holy crap. And then she's like, we see all those paintings with Alejandro and she's like, that's her last name. I was like, at first I thought I was wrong, but jumping ahead a little bit, we'll break everything down. But I'm like, yeah, I guessed right. I was like, okay, because I was kind of like, oh man, maybe I was completely wrong about everything. It's like, I didn't get all the details, but I was right. She did have, we find out that, Camila did have a baby, and she named the baby after Rosario, naming the baby Alejandro. So it's like, okay, so I was kind of right. And so that it is a thing of that place, Rosario helps people who are kind of lost. That's kind of like her thing. And so obviously at the time, Camila, she just chalks it up. She just says that Camila was going through heartbreak. And the reason why she didn't say anything else, because once again, this is Camila's story. It's not her story to tell others. But Rosario is well versed in all of this. I think the word that Alma used to describe her is kind of the same word her father used last episode to kind of describe it as well. I think it's kind of the equivalency of like a shaman of sorts. So, because she does very like alternative like medicines, like to help. Like there was some like the whole egg thing that she was doing to help out Becca, saying that. Because she immediately took the egg over Becca's body, and then like the egg kind of cracked. It's like, oh, so is your sister dealing with something baby related? And it's like, yeah, she is. So, and it's interesting. Alma ends up calling up her dad, and it's like, right, you haven't heard anything in your research about anyone passing out? It's like, yeah, you really don't have to worry about it, but we kind of teeny weeny little bit kind of used Becca's power, and she kind of fainted. And so he's like, right, I'm coming down to Mexico. And, but I do love that, the Rosario thing of, it's like her and Alma sitting out. She's like, wow, like we met. It's quite a coincidence. And she's like, no, she believes that coincidences are just the universe putting you in the right direction. And I love that Alma was like, did you get that from a meme? And then, Rosario being like, yes, I laughed because I was like, wait, what? I didn't expect her to genuinely be like, she was probably joking, but for her to even say yes, I read it on a meme. And it's just like, that's just the funniest thing to me. But Becca is kind of going through it this episode. At first, like, while she was laying down, she was seeing the baby bump, and you're like, oh, is she seeing her own future? Because we've never seen the future when it came to their powers. It seems like, once again, their power is time travel, but it does always seem like it is allocated and specifically... Well... I guess that's not 100% true because, well, I guess that was just like reality kind of breaking around her. That's so interesting because it became very reality shifting in season 1, but now it seems like it is more specifically allocated to time traveling memories is what it seems like. I guess they've narrowed it down to like, rather than just like having the widespread ability to just, because I was kind of under the impression of like, it was time travel. That's what the narrowing of the ability was supposed to be, not the whole but I thought it was kind of very like reality shifting, and I guess reality shifting does still fall under, like, I guess time travel is a much more narrow version of reality shifting. I guess I never really thought about it before. I think it's just like they narrowed in what the power is more specifically, whereas it seemed like it was more so scattershot like a shotgun, but now it's a lot more precise, like a I guess a more apt description would be like, yeah, like go a chainsaw versus a scalpel is kind of what they've kind of fine-tuned the powers to be. But regardless, but that's why like I said, I thought she was kind of seeing her own future because she's also dealing with the baby stuff, and she's seeing the baby, and then she gets that memory with her about like her mom, and you're like, what's that about? So she's wondering if it's her baby, and then there's the whole thing about Reed. There was some kind of thing she was going to have to go to about Reed, and she kind of ignored the notification. And now we realize what it is. The baby isn't hers. She was seeing Camila with Alejandro. She basically got lost in her... Like, this episode is titled Reflection, and the way that Rosario, like, place it as like, right, you reflect her, but you are not her. Because I think because of, once again, her empathic abilities of going into, like when she opens herself up to go inside of people, like she opens herself up to them. And because she herself isn't grounded, as Rosario said, like, right, she's grounded, the branches are spreading out without her roots being grounded. So it's kind of like how Alma needed the blackjack game to kind of ground herself. Becca's going through a free fall right now, and because she's kind of going through everything right now, and now she's taking in other people's emotions and everything, and now they're kind of consuming her, and that's why her reality is so blurred, because she's become her mom in those memories, but she was thinking it was her. She couldn't bring herself, to pull apart from it. So Rosario is like, right, you're not, you're reflecting her, you're not her. You need to kind of know yourself. Once she fully knows herself, then you'll figure out what you want in life, and you won't be so, because she's so floating right now, like I say, because she's not grounded, other people's emotions and memories and everything are like, when she takes that all in, it doesn't just pass through her, it sticks to her, because she's, not sure who she is. So she's kind of losing, when she does this, and in her current state, she's losing her identity. It's getting swept away by other people's identities when she uses her power. So I thought that was kind of a fascinating element. Once again, Alma's never had to do that. So I think they are doing a really good job of distinguishing between Alma's abilities and what Becca can do. But also it's like, because Becca is still a newbie at this, but Alma never had to worry about those same issues in season 1, which I thought was so fascinating. She had her own struggles, just like Becca does. And I think, once again, like Alma said, because she is a lot more empathic, I think that's why she kind of has such a very unique situation compared to Alma. Because I think Alma kind of detached and can cut herself off from the world. So that's her own thing, whereas Becca kind of takes it all in, I think. So, but there's the interesting conversation between Jacob and Alma, that Alma keeps pushing, like, Dad, we need to look into this, but he wants to go like, no, we need to mind your mom's business. I'm trying to make sure everything's right. I want to make sure that everyone's happy. And she's like, Dad, are you happy? Because Alma's like, right, we finally get the context of that letter that Alma found. It's like, right, that Alma from this timeline wasn't happy. She wasn't happy with her life, but she just didn't know how to tell you. So once again, it goes back to that conversation. I want to say it was last episode where Alma saw the other version of herself and being like, oh, you think you'll be happy in any reality? Like I said, there's something deeper there that even with her dad alive, it doesn't erase that. Like, I think there's kind of like some depression that she might be suffering from that she doesn't recognize it as such, because her defense mechanism is just kind of brush stuff off, be sarcastic and stuff like that, kind of cut herself off from people without getting too attached, so. But once again, Jacob doesn't want to push too hard with this whole thing, so he's like, right, we just got to go, we got to leave. He's afraid to try and help out their mom, because he's like, right, if I go down this lane again, because he got a glimpse of, like, right, I think the original timeline where he was so obsessed with work that she was going to leave him, and that led to him killing himself in that car accident, like losing his mind in that moment. So he's afraid that, right, what he lost before, like, everything fell apart because he became obsessed with his work, and he didn't want to do that again. And Alma's like, you won't. And he's like, do you know that for a fact? And Alma couldn't say anything because she doesn't know that for sure, that if he opens up that can of worms again, will he be okay? That's not the person he is anymore, but it's still somewhere deep inside of him. So using his powers, he ends up going back through the memories between how him and Camilla met. She took him on that tour, and it was kind of nice. Them talking about, well, because she said she wanted to go to the U.S. to study. She had thought about it. And they talked about the family circumstances. She said, right, I have a few friends, no boyfriend. Obviously, this is sometime after her and the priest had broken up. But she's like, right, me and my family, we're not really speaking. It's a Catholic thing. And it's like, yeah, me in the same way. And she's like, oh, why is that? He's like, my dad's an asshole thing. Because apparently his dad left his mom when she was going through everything, being in a mental hospital. And he's like, yeah, my mom has schizophrenia. But that's not how he looks at it, because he's like, yeah, like she might have her episodes, but other times she's intelligent and brilliant. She's so much more than just her episodes. And it's like, for him, and he wants to understand his mom. He wants to help his mom. He even told Camilla that's what he wanted his research to be about. He wanted to help her, and that's why you're just kind of like, that is always the saddest thing. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. You're always, you always have the best intentions in mind, but it just doesn't always work out that way. And he kind of got lost and obsessed with it. And him and Camilla staring at the stars. I forgot. It was a very poetic way both of them put it. Camilla said that her perspective on it, I think, certain things were they were kind of like tears or something, and then he kind of put it in a more realistic way of like, oh yeah, it's like something like burning out. And they both preferred each other's perspective, because she was like, right, she's like, I love the way you look at things, that something left behind can still burn so bright. And now in retrospect, it's like, right, she was talking about Alejandro, that Alejandro will grow up, and even though you had to leave him behind, he's going to prosper and be okay without you. And she's carried that with her all these years, not telling anyone, keeping that to herself. Because she, at one point they were together, she was like, right, I feel like I'm forgetting something. He's like, do you want me to go back? She's like, no, it's okay. And she kept saying, it's nothing. Once again, it's her defense mechanism, because talking about it, just she's scared that, I think, the way that she thought that Jacob and the rest of the family might have reacted, because her own mother turned against her, didn't even want to listen to her. So maybe she was afraid that she was going to be rejected by Jacob and the others if they found out the truth. She's like, oh, they'll find out. Because I think she beats herself up about the choice and thinks like, oh, I'm a horrible person. And especially, once again, she went off and had children with someone else. She had 2 daughters, and maybe she's thinking like, right, maybe regrets about if I had done things differently. Like I abandoned my baby, like I abandoned Alejandro. And that's the one thing of like, right, she might have been sending money to Rosario to send to Alejandro's, like, whatever family potentially adopted him. It wasn't until after everything that Becca was going through this episode, even ended up walking through glass because of her reality blurring, that she ended up cutting herself. And now it's like, right. And I thought that line was interesting, where Jacob was like, oh, we didn't know you were going through something. It's like, funny thing is, the same thing wasn't just applying to her. It was also, because she was reflecting their mom, and, Camilla was going through something just like, so I thought that was neatly done, how there's layers to that line. But after, looking back on the memories of like him confronting Camilla about the money, and he, and wondering if she was lying to him. Like I said, it's just, it was a defense mechanism of saying like nothing's wrong, which, once again, I understand so well. I had that defense mechanism. It caused issues in a past relationship, because anytime something was wrong, I was like, nothing's wrong. Nothing. It doesn't. My words weren't nothing. It was, it doesn't matter. I've talked about that before. It irked my girlfriend at the time's nerves, because it's just like, she's like, it does matter. Stop saying that it doesn't, because I'm not very good at opening up. I get scared opening up to people. I don't want to like vomit all my my inner turmoil and like insecurities and self-esteem issues. I don't want to like vomit that all over somebody. So I bottled a lot of stuff up, and I think that's kind of what Camilla was doing. Like, maybe, her regrets, her anger, her sadness, she was keeping that all to herself for all these years and never opening up to anyone about it, because she definitely didn't talk to her mom about it or her sister about it. So, I mean, to be fair, her mom just kind of cut her out. So, but interestingly enough, when he came back from those memories, he sat down and talked to Alma, and he's like, right, your mom is kind of going through something. And it is a thing that at the end of the day, he's like, I kind of ignored it in the sense of I didn't ask questions, because your mom's been dealing with stuff since the day we met, but I wasn't afraid to ever push too hard, because he was afraid, like, if he opened that can of worms, like, maybe he'd end up pushing her away. And so he thought, like, right, as long as I gave her space and didn't push too hard, like, everything was going to be okay. He says that I thought me being alive, things would be better. And she's like, Dad, you being alive is better. And he's like, I don't think it is, because the family didn't have the, like, because now in retrospect, it's like, right, like, Camilla wasn't like this in timeline A after he died. And it's like, so me being back brought about complications, and maybe it's just part of like the whole time thing of, once again, I never really thought about the ripple effects. I thought like me being back, maybe, he got his second chance, and him and Alma have their second chance together. He has a second chance with her and Becca and Camilla, but he never thought about what other turmoil might end up rising up because of that. Once again, the ripple effect. So now they know the truth about what Camilla's been holding on to this entire time. Now they just have to find her. So, I should also really quickly talk about something I forgot. Lazario actually ended up helping Alma with something. And I wonder, it seems like that might be something else entirely, but maybe there's some correlation there that Alma could never open up the door. And, Rosario kind of said what I pretty much said in a previous review, was that it's a subconscious thing. Like, Alma's like, I want to get the door open, but it's like subconsciously there's some part of you that doesn't want to open the door because you're afraid. And so she ends up hearing a child on the other end of the door, but she didn't get an opportunity to open it. She just knows, like, okay, whatever it is on the other side involves a kid. She just doesn't know what. So it's like, is it her? Is it something connected to this Alejandro thing? What is it exactly? We'll ultimately have to wait to find out where that takes us in the next episode, along with everything else. But really, that's all I want to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.